Available for weed control. We are licensed and insured. Gene Powell, past at Chamoy. Gene is a proud United States veteran.
Repticon presents Rep the Day, the one-day reptile event in Gainesville, August 11th. It'll be at the Wyndham Garden at 2900 Southwest 13th Street. Call 863-268-4273 or go to Repticon.com for more information and to buy tickets. This may not be Jurassic Park, but you will be able to have live animal encounters and see thousands of reptiles and other exotic animals. August 11th, Wyndham Garden, Gainesville, because kids of all ages love reptiles. Rep today.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
All right, 22 minutes after 8 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. You remember that song by John Lennon? I don't remember the name of the song, but the words are, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Oh, grow old along with me.
Grow old along with me. And I'm not even sure that...
Grow old with me, I think.
I'm not even sure that I think he may have taken that from
that was else. The poet, wasn't it?
Yeah, what was the poet?
Browning?
Yeah, I think it was Browning.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's the sentiment I wanted to express. I think that sentiment is in this book, The Shortest Way Home. Right? Because life is happening to these people that they didn't plan, right? Life happens while you're busy making other plans. Miriam Parker is on the phone. She has been with us before, right, Robin?
Yes.
We've had her on.
She's great.
Let's see. She worked in both publishing for more than 18 years. She's an associate publisher of Echo. She's a humorist, a contributor to the Florida Review and 14 Hills. Is she in Florida?
I don't know.
The Shortest Way Home. Good morning, Miriam. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks so much for talking to me.
Where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm in New York.
Oh, okay. Did you live here for a while?
I've never lived in Florida, but the Florida Review is an incredible literary journal, and I felt really honored to have a short story in it a couple of years ago.
Oh, neat. So tell me about this story. Am I right? This is Life is What Happens to You While You're Busy Making Other Plans example?
That's such a perfect description of it. I'm writing it down so that I can use it later. It's a book about a woman who, seems to have a perfect life, a fancy job, a fancy apartment, a man about to propose to her. And right before it all kind of takes off, she walks into a winery in Sonoma, California. And she's like, oh, I have to give it all up and stay here and help this winery make it in the world.
As opposed to living in Manhattan, right?
Exactly.
Well, it's a big change, right? I don't know. I like both places. I'd be torn. I don't know where I'd want to live. So...
Well, I live in Manhattan, and I really want to move to Sonoma.
It's funny.
But what's really wonderful about your character, Hannah, is that she seemed to be doing all the right things growing up in the order in which it should happen. But now all of a sudden she's she's sort of veering from that kind of perfection that she should let things happen spontaneously.
Exactly. I think, I think there's a certain type of personality, and I may be one of them that, you think you have to do things in a certain order, and then all of a sudden things get a little messed up, and then you're actually a little bit more free. You're like, oh, well, what do I really want to do, as opposed to what do all these other people want me to do? And that's kind of what happens to Hannah in this book.
Yeah, and it's also explores that dynamic between people who love each other, who you're torn between being together and loving the person enough to letting them go. It's kind of a weird thing we have to go through as humans, isn't it?
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. And it's a thing I think that especially when you're young and you're just trying to figure out who you are and what you want to do. And, if your life is intertwined with someone else's life, that makes it a little even more complicated. Yeah.
And it's you ladies who usually you give it up. Usually you say, well, you have your career and I'll get mine later on. And then you may or may not. That may or may not happen. It's maybe in today's world with technology, maybe it is possible to do both and live in the same place. Or I know a lot of people who don't live where they work.
Yeah,
weird,
exactly.
Right? So.
And Hannah has this thing that she does have a little bit issues about self-confidence. So she's also building up her self-confidence and learning to believe.
Exactly. I mean, I think she starts out at the beginning of the book not really knowing, what to do. And I think she is looking back at things that she was disappointed about in the past, and she doesn't really know who she is. And I think this winery and this family that she finds really help her figure out not only who she is, but also I think it gives her peace about her past as well.
And people are always told, oh, how lucky you are to have this job, or how lucky you are to have this relationship. But it's not all about luck in your book.
No, and in fact, luck is sort of the least of the things. It's really more about making decisions. There is a conversation early in the book where they talk about fate, and Hannah actually believes in fate, and her ill-fated boyfriend doesn't really. But in fact, it's not a book about fate. It's a book about choices.
The book is called The Shortest Way Home, and this is a very short interview. It's just the way it works sometimes. I'm not going to badmouth any authors who've been on for 25 minutes, but usually the best authors have the shortest interviews. I don't know if you ever noticed this before, but so I have a copy of the book, The Shortest Way Home. Call me if you'd like the copy that was sent to me. I'll leave it here at the radio station. The rest of us have to go buy it. I found it on Amazon. You're doing really well, by the way. Do you have another website you want to recommend?
Yeah, I also have miriamparker.com, and there's a reading group guide up there and lots of fun quotes from people who've been reviewing the book. So check it out.
Hannah also has a sense of purpose, and people go through life like if you're a mom and you raise your children, that's your purpose. But then your children grow up, and then all of a sudden you've got to reinvent yourself. And this is another thing that she's going through with her quest.
Absolutely. I definitely think it's a book, even though the character is 30 years old, I think it's a book that her experiences apply to people of every age.
And it's also a challenge, too, for her to be into this kind of business world.
Yeah, I mean, she has to learn a lot about the world of wine, the world of, this family business. She doesn't know anything about those things. She's sort of been trained to go work at Goldman Sachs. And so she stumbles into this winery, and she's like, at the beginning, she doesn't know anything about wine. She's sort of embarrassed, but she actually learns quite a bit throughout the book. And by the end, she's an expert.
Oh, I love this.
I have two friends who live out there. I think one actually lives in like a wine place, right? Mm-hmm. We sent her one of the wine books too, as a matter of fact. So let me. Okay, so I guess that's it. We'll just have to say goodbye. I thought I had another question for you, but I'm not sure. I have somebody on the phone. That's what it was. Okay, I'm sorry. Good morning. You've got the book. Who's this?
Hi, it's Gene from Maine.
Hey, Gene. You know where we are, right?
I sure do.
Okay. The book is waiting for you. Miriam, thank you for being on the air with us. Any plans to come to Florida? We have a winery here, by the way.
Yeah, we do. Lake Ridge.
Oh, I love it. Well, I don't have plans at this time, but knowing you have a winery and this lovely conversation makes me want to come.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you for being on the show with us today, and good luck with everything.
Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. In wildfire-scorched Redding, California, some allowed home, but nearly 30,000 still evacuated, like this woman.
I got worse thing to happen to me than worrying about my house.
She says the town she grew up in was completely destroyed. The Carr Fire now the 9th most destructive in state history. Meanwhile, in Mendocino and Lake counties, more evacuations, with some 10,000 homes threatened by that fire. The president on Twitter praising Rush Limbaugh and keeping up the call for tightened and border security, which he has said he'd consider shutting the government down over.
And contrary to the president's threat, the Wall Street Journal is reporting this morning that privately the president has agreed to avoiding a shutdown in light of political practicalities. But, he says the fight is coming regardless sometime this fall, maybe November or December. The president has a rally tonight in Tampa, Florida.
Fox's Griff Jenkins. Fox News. We report, you decide.
Pros in the know start with Lowe's, because Lowe's offers the largest in-store selection of DeWalt power tools and accessories than of any national retailer. And now during DeWalt days, they're up to 30% off. Save even more with your everyday 5% savings when you use your Lowe's business credit card. Stop by our